Hello, everybody. Welcome along to Rabble Meets. And today I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by singer, songwriter, and somebody who's probably got more talent in their pinky than I've got in my whole body, Robyn Keen. Robyn, hello. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me on.
No, not a problem. Not a problem. Like I said to you before we started, I tried to learn the guitar. I know how difficult it is, so I've got all the respect in the world. Um, what we like to do on these shows is kind of start off by getting to know the person. So, what was life like for a young Robyn Keen growing up in the Isle of Arran?
Yeah, I had an amazing childhood, and I suppose whenever I go back home, that's all you think about is your childhood and how lucky I was to be brought up there. Saying that, I would find it hard to live there now, but as a child, I think there's probably nowhere better in the world to be brought up. It's safe, you've got a community, and you're surrounded by beaches and beautiful scenery. And when you're younger, you just don't think about it until you get older. So, yeah, very, very lucky, and I never take it for granted. So
No, well, I mean, growing up in Glasgow, I completely I understand that because we obviously, as kids, probably had more opportunities in terms of stuff that we could go and do.
yeah,
But we discussed it as well before we started this. I think what you probably find on islands, and I've spoke to lots of people from different islands, is educational wise, there's probably nowhere better for kids.
there's not. And I think just being out among nature and things, I'm realising that as well. I've got a wee niece now, and we're in Glasgow, so is my brother. And I just think getting kids outside and stuff is the best way to teach them anything. Get them out and among nature and the parks, down to the beach. Like we still, when I've got her, when I'm looking after her, I just want to get in the car and go down to Trin Beach and take her next to the sea because I suppose that's what I love doing. So, and they never get bored. You can just make games up in the beach and find shells, build sandcastles, and they're happy. So that was what my childhood was like anyway.
Well, see, the issue is I used to go to Arran quite a bit
Mhm.
as a kid, and I stood on a jellyfish on the on the wee beach, so it scarred me for life.
Oh God.
Um, it was horrible, terrible. Anyway, what was kind of life like then as for a young Robyn in terms of your schooling and stuff? Were you into school or were
Yeah,
you always musically talented?
so I grew up in Brodick, which is the village that you'll come in if anyone's been to Arran. That's where the boat comes into. And it was funny because there was only one boy in our class. It was all girls, but again, it was only a class of 12 in total. So we were all very, very close. And you kind of grew up with the same people that you went to playgroup with, and then you went to primary school with, and then you went to high school with, and then I ended up actually in the same college as my best friend Amy, who I'll talk about that, as she was part of the reason that I sing, to be honest. So you grow up, you become very close to people, and they're your lifelong friends. I'm still best friends with all the people that I was in primary one with. So, I mean, there's a few people you'll lose touch with, but if you ever go home again in the summer and you catch up in the pub, it's just the same as it always was. So, yeah, it's nice. And I used to always think, imagine, like we called it the mainland. I used to always have this fear of, imagine I had to go to a school in the mainland and there was 100 people in your class, and that was terrifying for me. So you're very comfortable. You're in a bit of a bubble, I suppose. And again, you just don't realise it until you come away and realise what it's like up here. So yeah, I used to find it pretty scary. Thought of Glasgow.
Well, it's funny you say that because my daughter's in primary six now,
Yeah,
and she's in a class of like 30,
yeah,
31.
yeah,
And you know, and I didn't think about it when I was in school. It was the same, and you do think. I mean, if you've got a class of 12 or you've got a class of 30, who's
yeah.
getting the better education?
That's it. Yeah, we did. Again, it was a great school. The primary school, we were always so lucky with our teachers and stuff. I don't think they were so lucky with us. We were terrible. We get called the Brodick Mafia. I don't know why we were so bad, but we just were. There's 5 girls that just, I don't know. I don't know. It's because we all had older brothers and they always bet us up and things, and then we just became very like a bit of an army, I suppose. So, but no, my teachers were lovely, and in high school we had really good teachers as well. And I think you're right, it was that smaller class thing. You got much more of a one-to-one. We never had any problems. If you wanted extra help, there was always a teacher there to support. So we were very, very fortunate that way. And yeah, that was just how it was, and I think it's still the same. I don't really know what the education's like over there now, but I know they've still got great teachers, both primary and secondary. And when you're out now, like again, if you go out to the pub, the teachers are quite often out and about, and you can chat to them and stuff. So you bump into them in the co-op. Quite often I've got my head down in shame, like thinking, oh my God,
what have I done?
Why did I say that? Like,
in terms of music, obviously we'll come on and we'll talk about you know, your TikTok and your YouTube and your Facebook and stuff. Was music a big thing for you at school?
Yeah. I mean, music's been part of my life, my whole life, because my mum was a singer. My dad played in a band. He would never call himself a musician, but he is good. He was a drummer in a band just locally for fun, and he plays the guitar as well, and he writes songs. So he taught me when I was about, I'd say I was about 4 or 5 years old. We had a piano in the first house that I grew up in, and I can vividly remember him sitting me down and just saying, this is how you write a song. And like, you would accompany yourself with arpeggios on your left hand, and you played the melody with your right. And he taught me this song when I was about 4 years old. I can still play it today, I can still remember it. And that was really how I started writing songs. It was just given that basic kind of education of how to do it left and right hand. And then I got piano lessons when I was maybe 5 years old onwards, but I had no interest in learning how to read music. Eventually I could read it, but very slowly. I was always someone who played by ear. I could hear a song on the radio and then just go into the house and play it. And I just thought that was normal, but it's not normal, I suppose. I feel very lucky to have a good musical ear and be able to do it.
In terms of, because my stepson, he plays guitar, electric guitar, and all that, so he can read sheet music. How important is it for a songwriter to be able to read sheet music? Is it a big thing? Because I remember watching an interview years ago with Phil Collins, and Phil Collins says that he doesn't know how to read sheet music. He's not interested in reading sheet music, and yet he's wrote some of the greatest songs we've ever listened to.
You don't need to be able to read music at all to be able to play an instrument. It's two completely different types. I always think it's two different brains. If you can do both, it's incredible. But if you want to play in an orchestra or be an accompanist, for example, then reading music is crucial, because you're playing it note by note and you have to be absolutely on the ball. But when you're playing in a band, then quite often it's just a case of listening and playing what the next chord's going to be. Like, I like to work with musicians that play by ear, because that's how I play. And quite often they'll say to me, what key are we in? And I'm like, I don't have a clue. Like, what are you talking? Don't ask me these questions. And they're like, what chord's that? And I'm like, I don't know. But I can play them all. Because I play often with the capo on my guitar. So I'll be like, I can say to people, 3rd fret, G, C, E minor. But I have no idea what that actual chord is, because it's not G, it's something else.
Yeah.
So I just have to always make sure I play with musicians that know a lot more than me, so that they can tell me what I'm doing.
It's a bit of a cheat code, that, but it's a good
way. Done that all the way through life.
So was it just music straight from school, or did you have, you know how like actors always worked in restaurants or whatever? Was it just music straight for school?
I've always had another job on the side. I've always done music. Like, I left school when I was 16 and I went and studied music in college. And it was, of course, music performing and promotion that we did. But I was gigging from the age of 16 with my best friend Amy when we were when we left school. For about 5 years, we did all the pubs in Glasgow. But I always worked in hospitality to support myself. And I don't think we ever thought it was going to be a full-time thing. We just did it for the enjoyment of it, really. So I did that, and then I went away and I worked abroad for probably about 10 years. I did ski seasons. I worked in chalets, doing like catered chalets and things as a host, and then I was a chalet manager. Then I went and worked in super yachts as well. That was an interesting job. But the music fell away for a good 10 years when I went and did all that travelling and working, and then I just naturally came back to it with a job that I had down in Kent. I got myself back into a wee studio and got back into it, and I've just been pushing it kind of from then and just enjoying it, like really enjoying doing it again.
When you fell away, like you said there, when you were on your super yachts, and I have to ask more about the super yachts. That has to be a conversation. when you came back to the music, in terms of like instruments and stuff, did it take a while to get back into being able to play them, or was it just,
Yeah,
no, I know how to do it?
no, it did take a while. Like, the more you do it, the better you get at it. And I thought I was quite, when I recorded an album, which I ended up deleting because I didn't like it. But when I was recording, I would just do like one take of my vocals, and the guy's like, "Is that all you want to do?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine." And then I'd go on to the next one. The whole thing was done in one take. And now that I've learned to record myself, I'm absolutely like, I could go over the same line 20 times until I'm happy with how it sounds and how I'm pronouncing the words and things. So I'm completely different now to what I was. I take it a lot more seriously. But yeah, you just learn. When I had this job down in Kent for 2 years, I got myself into a college in London, and I did a music production course, which is the best thing I've ever done. Because I didn't realise how much freedom I would have being able to record my own songs rather than paying a fortune in studios and recording studios, which again, it's great. It's only £40 an hour, but then if you're recording a song, you've then got the hours of the mixing and the mastering, and it all adds up thousands of pounds. All my money went into that. So I thought, see if I just learn how to record myself, learn how to produce and mix my own tracks, then I can just sit at home and do all that myself. And I just wish I'd done that when I was 16. But it's better late than never.
Hindsight's wonderful.
It is. Yeah, it is.
You talked, I mean, from me personally, I mean, everybody's different, of course.
Yeah.
I can't have somebody like my good lady, my better half. She loves singing, absolutely adores it.
Yeah.
But if she sings next to me, I get really embarrassed. I don't know. Don't ask me why. I have this. I clam up. I don't know what it is. But in terms of you said from a very, very young age that you were touring with your best friend Amy, and you were going around pubs and that in Glasgow or wherever you were going about. Was there ever any nerves, or was it just natural for you?
We always did get nervous right before a gig, but the two of us together were so. I think when we sang together, we were solid. Like we always knew we were going to be able to sing. But it would always be down to what was the recording equipment going to be like. So sometimes we turned up, we would get invited to play at these gigs, and we were like, right, what sort of equipment have you got? Your own PA, for example? And they say, yeah, the PA, no, that's here, it's not a problem. And we used to bring like loads of our friends would come and support us from Arran. Sometimes people would travel up for the night and stay in a hotel just to come and hear us. And we could have maybe 30 or 40 people in the audience. And so it was loud, people were drunk. And then you turn up and it was like this karaoke machine with like 2 mics coming out a speaker and no monitors. So for anyone that doesn't know anything about music, like it's like trying to sing over, if you try and sing over like a drunk pub who are all talking over you, it's absolutely impossible if you don't have a monitor feeding back what you can hear. So what ended up happening was we would sing so loud just to hear our note, because you couldn't hear it here because it was so busy with people. And we just wrecked our vocal cords when we were younger, because it was like that time and time again. And we never wanted to turn a gig down because we'd been asked to sing. But see, when you get a bit older and wiser, you realise you have to say no to some gigs. And it's more down to, is it safe to sing? Is it an environment that you can sing in and come away with your voice at the end of it? The amount of times we had laryngitis for like a week after it, just because your voices were so strained. And that was why I gave it up. That was why Amy gave it up as well. We just get so sick of these gigs. And then you'd get the one amazing gig that was like in a wee theatre. And one that I remember was Mugdock Country Park. They've got a lovely wee theatre up there that just seats 50 people. And it's a paying gig. So people pay to come, and I think it's a tenner or something, and they get different acts on. And I remember that one being so incredible because everyone was absolutely silent. You could hear a pin drop, and we got the atmosphere and everything there. And then we would come away from that just thinking that was unreal. And the Autumn Moor was another one that we sang in. I remember being incredible because people were sitting there listening. But us singing in pubs was not what we were meant to be doing. But if you ask any musician that's now making a career in it, everybody did it. Everyone did that to begin with.
Well, it's almost like an apprenticeship, isn't it?
Yeah, you learn. Like, we were so young as well, and but I'm so proud of ourselves for doing it, because I just can't, when I look at 16-year-olds now, I think, cannot believe we were out in the pubs in Glasgow just turning up and singing for 45 minutes or an hour. and bringing all these people in. You never really thought about it at the time, but it was a great experience, and I wouldn't change it at all. But it's amazing what we're like now. If we were asked to sing somewhere, we would be very picky about what we were doing.
But obviously, I mean, again, we're mentioning it, hindsight's wonderful. Obviously,
Yeah.
back when you're 16, you're probably just desperate to perform wherever you can.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even if there wasn't money involved, or if there was money involved or whatever, you're just desperate.
You just did it, and you were paid in drink. So us at that age to get into a pub underage, we thought it was brilliant, you know, and they would say, oh, you've got free drinks all night. Well, absolutely brilliant. That's the best deal ever. So then, of course, you're out afterwards and you're getting drunk, and then you lose your voice even more, and it's like that vicious cycle of doesn't end.
Well, I mean, I can't sing, so I can drink as much as I want.
Yeah.
But in terms of, you've mentioned that a couple of times now, your voice, it's not really something, I suppose, that non-singers, people who just like to listen to songs, ever really think about. Do you take extra care of your voice at all times? Is there certain foods that you won't eat, drinks that you won't drink, obviously smoking and stuff like that?
I mean, I can feel, see, even if I go out with my friends now for even a lunch, and if we're just chatting away for an hour or two, I come away from that, my throat's sore, and it's just because of the damage I did years ago, singing in the wrong places. Really, really strained it badly. It's never come back fully. So if ever I'm singing a video or a cover on TikTok or whatever, I'll warm my vocal cords up beforehand for a good 15 minutes. There's brilliant YouTubes that it's just vocal warm-up exercises. I mean, if anyone heard you singing it, it's embarrassing, the sounds that you've got to make. But I can't tell the difference in your voice, the tone of your voice as well after warming it up. It's like you wouldn't send a footballer onto a pitch without warming up his muscles. There's no difference at all with your vocal cords, because they're just two small muscles. So yeah, every singer will tell you that, like, you've got to take care. And even my mum would always say to me, especially if I was going out to watch an old firm, the first thing she'll say to me is, please don't shout. Don't shout and scream. You'll lose your voice. It's so true, though. It doesn't happen. Then I've got a day off. Then if I'm meant to be recording the next day, I have no voice. So,
I'll come back to the music in a wee second, because I do want to talk about your TikTok, because that's where I first see you. And obviously, got in touch and stuff.
Yeah.
Your love for Rangers, where did that come from?
Has been ever since I was a wee girl. I've been obsessed. I did copy anything my brother did, as you do as a younger sister. He was 3 years older than me, so whatever he had, I had to have, whether it was like the PlayStation. But we shared a room when we were younger, so half of his room was posters, all the Rangers players' posters, calendars, football strips, everything you can imagine. Every memorabilia of Rangers was there, and then my half was all horse riding rosettes, and I was into horse riding. So it was like that, but I just always wanted his Rangers tops and his strips. And I remember this calendar actually that had all the players. It was in the 90s, and he got it for Christmas. And I can remember whatever our birthday months was the same month as the Rangers players. And I was in love with Mark Hateley, and I was like praying to God that December was Mark Hateley. And I remember getting it, and it was Duncan Ferguson. And I don't know why, but I didn't like him at the time. I don't know why. And he's like,
you wouldn't say that to his face, though.
No, no. And if he ever watches this, I apologise. But I remember Ian like laughing at me, going, "Ha ha, you get Duncan Ferguson." I was like, "What's wrong with that?" Like, and then it made me feel like he wasn't good or something. Mm-hmm. Wasn't he a good player? I can't even remember.
Yeah. I remember the calendars.
Poor Duncan Ferguson. But yeah, so it was always like some sort of rivalry of Rangers strips and Rangers tops. And one Christmas, actually, our friends, Karen and Ian Barber, he used to wind us up every year by wrapping our presents differently. So he wrapped a Rangers top for me, saying to Robyn from the Barbers. And then my brother got this Minnie Mouse nightie, like pink thing. And of course, I opened mine first, and I was like, yes, I've got a Rangers strip. And then he opened that, and he said, right, that's obviously not meant. And I said, no, this is mine, that's yours. And massive fight on Christmas morning. So yeah, it definitely stemmed from my brother, the obsession with football. But I kind of chose the players whoever I fancied. I don't think I ever watched them play. I just fancied them.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Obviously, being on Arran during the 90s as well,
Yeah,
football wasn't as readily available as what it is now. You know, you
yeah,
can just open your phone now and you can watch football.
yeah,
None of my family were really into football, so it was just me. I didn't
yeah,
get to go to Ibrox a lot as a kid. So my greatest memories of Rangers kind of during that 90s is the radio.
yeah.
Having to listen to radio. Did you get, obviously living where you lived, and did you get to many games as a youngster?
Yeah, I mean, my first game I went up, I think I was probably 16 or 17. But yeah, my brother used to go with my papa and stuff, and they lived in Eaglesham, so I'm sure he would
Oh,
go
yeah.
up the night before and stay the night, or if it was a weekend game, he'd go up on the weekends. And all my family are all Rangers. My cousins, my papa was, and my uncle Jimmy, and they had a season ticket. So, and I think that season ticket's been passed down to who are my mum's cousins. So it's been in the tickets stay in the family, the same seats stay in the family. But yeah, anything that we would go up for that was in Glasgow, you tend to go up the night before and just stay with your grandma and your papa. So that was how it kind of was. And with Rangers now, there's a Rangers supporters club. They'll get the first vote on the Saturday, and they can get up. There's a game at 3:00. They can get up, see that. They might just have to leave 10 minutes early and get the bus back down to, it was Ardrossan, but it's now Troon, the boats leave from. So that's all changed. So it's a bit of a tight day away, to be honest. And quite often, if the boats aren't sailing or they get cancelled, they all get stuck and they might have to miss an hour's work in the morning. So it's a bit of a trek. It's annoying because places like Dunoon, their ferry sails to about 11:00 at night, so they can have a full day out and enjoy it, whereas we're always really tight to get back in time to catch the last ferry home.
I know it's mental when you think about it, because I know a lot of people that come over from Northern Ireland, and
Yeah,
they leave at like 5 in the morning,
yeah,
and sometimes they don't get back until the following day, or they don't get back until late at night. I
yeah,
think it shows you, not to get too I can't think of the right word, but not to get too part of political broadcast, but it shows you the pull, I
yeah.
suppose, of Rangers, that you've got people, obviously the likes of Arran and Harris and whatever, making trips
Oh
to
yeah,
watch a 90-minute game, and it takes them all day.
yeah. I mean, these guys come up. There'll be folk from Arran that's probably gone to every game that they can. If the boat has sailed, they'll have probably been there. Yeah, we're so used to it. We're so used to, if you go away and you come back in the last boat, it just, you don't even think about it. You just get the boat as part of it. You get the train up. I'm sure when you that's your day away, you're kind of drinking as well from the start. A lot of them get the cans out, and that's kind of part of it. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's when I used to do that a lot when I was younger, but I don't drink as much now.
See, I feel as you get older, I can't be bothered going to the toilet every 5 minutes.
I know.
That's the problem. I
And the
can't be bothered with
hangovers last about a week. I mean,
it.
I just can't deal with it. I cannot deal with it at all.
No, I have 2 cans of beer now, and I've genuinely got a hangover the next
Yeah,
day. So
and it kicks in like an hour after you've drank them.
100%, 100%. Right, okay, so moving on to the kind of TikTok, how did that all start? You mentioned earlier, obviously, about the studios and how much they cost, and you found out how to kind of record on your own. How did kind of TikTok start, and how important has that become for you?
So I started on YouTube just doing kind of fuller length videos that most people do before TikTok came around. But I found it was taking me like 3 days to edit it and stuff, the video. I mean, obviously I was slower back then, but I was doing a lot of like different angles and things to make the video a bit more interesting. And I was getting engagement and stuff, don't get me wrong, but then TikTok came along and I was very reluctant to go on it because again, it was a lot of younger people that used it when it first started out. TikTok was much younger generation, and I kind of kept saying, "There's no way I'm getting on that." And then I started seeing other artists doing it and using it, and I started watching it myself. And then I saw people commenting, doing like cover requests and stuff, and then videos responding to the covers. And I thought, oh, I could do that, no bother. And then I realised it's so much easier in portrait mode as well. I prefer portrait mode now with my phone. And I just started doing kind of shorter clips of the videos that I'd already sang, like Highland Cathedral and stuff. I'd done it quite a few years ago in Flower of Scotland. I did them. They all popped off on TikTok, and then the Scottish folk thing was really popular, and that was what people were asking for. So I just kind of naturally moved over to TikTok. I do still post on YouTube, but you know yourself, editing videos, it takes a long time, and it drives you insane. And then you're trying to get the memory in your phone and the memory in your computer. All I seem to do is try to get memory and delete videos and pictures. And obviously all my music creation stuff's on there, so it takes up loads of memory as well. So I was like doing a TikTok video, and then you have to kind of position it so that you've got space for the writing and the lyrics and everything as well. And then after I'd done one, you're so drained with that. I'm like, oh God, if I could now got to do a horizontal one with YouTube as well. So I kind of fell away a bit with YouTube, but I've got people that have followed me on there for years that are really good supporters. So I try and do both. But the thing with TikTok was it was quicker and easier and faster. I found so much easier. And then I would just started replying to comments, and people were requesting songs that I'd never heard of before. And I'll always listen to every song that comes in that's requested. I'll go and listen to it on Spotify or YouTube, have a listen and think, can I make a good cover of that? Yes or no? And quite often it was like the Greenfields of France. I had never heard of that song before, and I can't believe I'd never heard of it. It's a war song. It's unbelievable. So I would learn that, and then I'd share it and think. I genuinely did songs that I'd thought no one else had ever heard of before, and then they were all kind of blown up and getting really popular. And then, I think because people realised it was quite natural and organic the way I was doing it, because I would just be like, right, I've never heard this song before, learned it this morning, sing it, reading the lyrics from the screen. And I think there's something about TikTok that the more natural it is, the more popular it is. If you start editing on TikTok, nobody's interested, which was perfect for me.
Yeah, I have seen it, and everybody's done that thing where you've sat down and you've went, I'm going to flick through TikTok, and then you're looking, it's 2 hours later, and you go, where did the 2 hours go?
Yeah.
But you see videos and you can tell it's just fake.
Oh yeah.
And you're right, it absolutely does put you off.
The more polished it is, people are not interested, and I think that's really good, because the way everything is with AI and everything, the way technology's going, right, we can't stop that. But there's something about TikTok is so authentic, and the fact that that's popular is a really good sign that we've still got that. And as a singer myself and songwriter and creator, whatever, I love that people still want it that way, because it means I don't have to overthink it too much. As long as I've warmed up my voice and I use my mic audio, I don't use the phone audio. I think that's really important. I plug my mic into Ableton Live, which is a music software, and when I edit the video, I take the audio from the microphone rather than the audio from the iPhone, because it's so much better. So you can do wee things like that to improve the quality of your sound. But I'm all for improving the quality of the sound, but I'm not for the kind of overly edited videos on TikTok, I think.
Yeah, and the auto tune to make your voice sound perfect and all that sort of thing.
Auto tune, I've never done it in my life. I don't see the point in singing if you can't sing in tune. Just don't sing.
That's why I don't sing.
No.
That's exactly why I don't sing. Obviously, there was a song I wanted to ask you about. Now, I haven't been able to look too deep into it. But it was something that you commented, obviously a song that you wrote, but you also directed the video for it, because you said it was quite close to you. And it was a song called Anxiety.
Yeah.
Now, if you could explain what that's about, if you don't mind. And the reason that it kind of popped up to me was I suffer from anxiety, so it came to me. But people watch a podcast where you've got thousands of people watching, and they think, how can you have anxiety?
Oh yeah, I know.
You're obviously putting yourself out there on socials and stuff, and we'll come to the range of stuff in a minute. So people will say, well, Robyn, how can you have anxiety?
Yeah, you get that a lot. So that was initially why I started singing again. Actually, I took a job down in Kent, which was working. It was an amazing job, to be honest. It was working for a Russian family, and I was looking after their daughter down there. And I'd been struggling horrendously with anxiety before. And my way of coping with it was to do jobs where I was flat out working 7 to 8 hours a week, because I didn't have to think about it. And any time I was off work, I was riddled with this anxiety that I couldn't figure out where it had come from. I could have pinpointed a couple of things that had happened in my life that not anything like different from anyone else. You know, I'd lost someone very close to me, and I'd kind of had a few money worries at times. So I don't know whether that had triggered it, but it just seemed to be so out of control. It snowballed out of control, and it got worse and worse and worse. And then I was like looking at my watch every day, going, "Oh, it's coming, it's coming." You know, it's when's it going? And it would come in earlier and earlier and earlier each day. And then I was so obsessed with trying to get rid of it that it just controlled my life completely. So I would do everything you can imagine. You know, I was going to the gym, I was working out, I was doing these breath workshops, I was doing just, I mean, I look back and I think, why didn't I just not think about it and just say, right, it's there? But I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. If you've experienced it, you know what it's like. So eventually, when I was down in this job, a few people were a bit worried that I'd be working by myself, and they're like, you know, your anxiety is worse when you're on your own. What are you going to do? Like, do you think it's a good idea? You're better when you're working with people and all that. And I said, no, I'll get over it. I'll deal with it, you know. So I saw a wee studio that was round the corner from the house, and I thought, well, I'll go back in and sing. And the only thing I could write about at that time was anxiety, because that's what I was suffering with. I thought, well, maybe if I write about it and share my feelings and thoughts about it, it will help someone else. And my idea of that video was, it was just really, I had the vision of being on Arran, walking my dog, talking about, singing about how anxiety is, and you'll know listening to it's word for word what it is. And then I had the idea of the music video and the drone shots and everything. And you'll laugh at this, because actually when I shared that video, it went completely viral instantly, right? But again, I didn't really think about numbers or YouTube views back then. I was just doing it. I was sharing it, obviously, to help other people at the time. And then a couple of months later, I thought, at the time I was like, oh, this is great. You know, I've shared this, and other people were all messaging me saying, I suffer with this. Your videos really helped me. Thank you. And I didn't know you suffered with it. And I was like, this is the whole point of doing it. And then I woke up one day, and 3 months later, when I felt a bit better, I looked at it, I was like, oh my God, I'm cringing so much at that. Delete. I couldn't watch it, so I deleted it. and then months later again, I'm like, the whole point in you writing that song and recording that EP was to help other people and not to worry about what other people think. And now you've gone and deleted it because you're worrying about what other people think of it. So the album's gone. I deleted it. And I'm really annoyed at myself, because that would have been like it's a project and it's a body of work, which I look at all my music now. I'm past the point of caring what people think. And it's a very free place to be. Like, I just wish I could have been like that before, but we all go through different stages in life. But yeah, I did delete the album, and I uploaded the video again, but it's nowhere near the reach that I had before. You don't get the reach again. I don't care. You know.
Sorry, I was stuck on mute, which happens a lot. Happens a lot. I know it's weird. It's really strange that you done that because of the anxiety, and then maybe it was anxiety that made you delete it.
It was. I woke up one morning with a fear. I'd been out on Arran, and this is ridiculous, but I think I'd had a night out, and this is what I used to be so bad if I'd been drinking the night before, and wake up the next day riddled with anxiety. And I'm like, I'd not even done anything any different to anyone else in the pub, but I'm like, what did I say to him? Oh my God, what have I said? All going through my head. Then I was, oh my God, that video, what an idiot I am. So deleted it. And it was just in a moment of the fear, like from alcohol. And then, you know, we all know how bad that is. Like when you've been out and you wake up that next day, life is like, you can't even describe how horrific it is that Sunday or Monday. And then the way you think about yourself and everything and all the things you've done. And I remember telling my mum I deleted it. She's like, you have deleted a full body of work. Well, because you woke up with it. And I'm like, and it's not until someone else says it, and she was raging at me. She's like, I cannot believe you've done that. And I was like, no, whoops. And then I re-uploaded it a few months later when I felt better. It's weird, isn't it? Really weird.
It's weird. It's weird what we do when we're and you talk about the fear of when you wake up the next day. It's the minute you check your messages just to make sure you've told people what you actually think of them, like messages and stuff. Oh no, I get that. I get that. And I suppose that kind of segues into. I mean, not it's not what you primarily do, but you have done it on TikTok, obviously doing some of the Rangers stuff like
Mhm.
Ibroxonia and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
you talk about you've had anxiety in the past. Was there any worries at all about uploading Rangers songs, knowing what Glasgow and the West is like?
Absolutely. I mean, before I uploaded it, right, I said to myself, I had actually shared a Rangers song about 5 years ago, the one that I wrote called Rangers on My Mind. I put that one on YouTube during lockdown. Again, just because it was the way I was thinking at the time. I was kind of, remember when no one could get into the stadiums and it was
Yeah.
just dire. I was down in England at that time and I was missing Scotland, and there was all like thinking 2 years of people not going to football matches and not going out to the pubs. And so I wrote that song and I shared it, and that one did really well. And to be honest, I never really get many negative comments on there at all from Celtic fans or anything. I think there was one guy that I remember specifically, the first comment I got was, "What a shame for an aspiring young musician, Scottish musician, endorsing the old firm." And I remember saying, I just replied to him and I said, "Look, I grew up in a place where Rangers and Celtic fans were all pals, and we watched the pub in the same, it was the same pub, there was no segregated pubs or anything like that. It was just, you kind of hated them for 5 minutes if they bet us, and then you were arms around them when you were drunk." So I just kind of said that to him. I was like, I don't think that way. So, and I've tried to maintain that throughout it. I knew before Ibroxonia, when I had requested so many times, and my brother, we were at a Rangers game together, and he said, "You need to share that, you need to sing that," because Caledonia was the first song I ever sang. So I'm a big Caledonia, I'm a big Dougie MacLean fan as well. And I don't know whether he likes it, I'm sure he doesn't like it, but he was like, "Just sing it, just do it." He says, "I think they'll love it." So before I press send on TikTok on that, I was like, right, are you prepared for this? Like abuse, because you're going to get it.
Yeah.
And I just said to myself, well, what can they say? Like, I mean, they're going to rip the whole out of me. They're probably going to rip the whole out of the song. And I was like, so what? Like, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not saying anything wrong. I'm just singing a song that Rangers fans sing. And I love the song. I love Rangers. And it's like combining two things together. I was like, why not? So yeah, I was ready for it, and I'm in a different place mentally now with anything that comes my way. I'm just a bit like, it's only a comment on TikTok. It's not that serious. So
And the positive feedback, I suppose, because your videos have blown up, not just the Rangers ones. There's other videos on there with your other type of music as well. But what's the kind of positive feedback been from putting out those Rangers videos? Because we so often, and I'm guilty, I've just done it. We're so often of the first thing we jump to is the negativity.
Yeah, no, amazing feedback. I really love reading the comments, because there's things, I'll get messages from people, you just can't believe some of the things that I've had. Like one of the ones I remember was, I can't remember if it was a guy or a girl had messaged me saying, I just wanted to let you know that I played your version of Ibroxonia to my dad when he was dying in his final moments, and he listened to it as he passed away. And I was like, oh my God, like,
Yeah.
howling. I'm like, Jesus, you just don't know what people are doing with your songs. And then I'll get other people saying, oh, we're playing this at my dad's funeral, or we're playing this at my brother's funeral, and things like that are really special, because they could choose any version of the song, but the fact they're choosing that version is really quite touching, I suppose. And then there's other ones that I'll get messages from people saying, oh, my boys absolutely love your music, when's it coming out? And then I know that young kids are listening to it as well, because my algorithm has been predominantly like 50 to 60-year-old men. I can see on my YouTube who listens to me.
Yep.
And it's been that for a long time. And there's nothing wrong with that, because they're very nice, and I don't get any abuse. I've not had any abuse. So when I started doing the Rangers thing, I thought, you are opening yourself up to possible abuse or attacks or whatever. And I thought, well, yeah, I'm very careful in what I share and what I say. So it's actually, what's been nice is it's kind of brought in a whole different age range of viewers as well. So I've got people from all ages listening to it now, which is nice. But not mainly positive feedback. Even the Celtic people, that I've got Celtic fans on my page that still follow me, and even to the point where some of them defend me whenever there's a comment in there because they've followed me for so long and they support my channel, and I've done covers for them. So, you know, I don't, whenever I see a Celtic top in the logo and they request a song, I'm not going to not do it because they're a Celtic fan. I wouldn't go out my way to do stuff for Celtic followers. I'm not like that. If people have a problem with it, that's their issue, not mine.
Yeah, but we can't solve the world, unfortunately.
No.
That's the unfortunate thing. But it's also opened up now for next Thursday, or this Thursday, I should say, when this comes out, that you're going to be performing at New Edmiston House.
Yeah, great gig to get. Really, really happy to have been asked and delighted to have been asked to sing in there. It'll be a nervy one, I'm sure, but I know the songs pretty well, and I've got a pianist that's going to come on and play with me as well. So I'll be playing the guitar. I've got Guy on piano, and I've got my drummer, he plays djembe, fantastic percussionist who I've asked if he'll come and play as well, because I want it to be a fuller sound in there. Like, I could just sing and play me and my guitar, but I would probably bore people to death by the third song with that. So I want to make it like as good as I can and a bit more upbeat as well. And the minute you've got drums and other instruments involved, then you're going to make it a wee bit more lively, because I am aware that my versions of songs are much slower and they're a bit more acoustic, a bit more soft. I'm not chanting, I'm not stomping the foot. So they're different to what you're used to hearing, but at the same time, people seem to enjoy it. So we'll see what happens.
At what time will you be starting?
So a lot of people have asked me that. So I think the lady that I'm speaking to, she said likely going to do maybe 2 different sets. We'll see how busy it is, but I will be on early. I would say about 5:30. I think my first bit will go on, and then maybe I'll go on a wee bit later, which I know that might be hard for people to get down that early, but if people want to make a night of it and get down a wee bit earlier to come and hear the music, then I suppose that would be great. But yeah, appreciate not everyone can make it down if you're working and stuff like that. So yeah, I would just advise people to try and get in maybe a wee bit earlier than they would if they want to hear it.
And don't worry, I'll not be on stage. I'll not be on stage singing. I will try my best to get down, actually. I will.
If you miss the first few songs, you'll hopefully hear the last 3.
Well, I'll make a deal with you. If I don't appear, then the next time you're singing on stage, I'll need to sing with you.
Right.
So I'll definitely be there. Will you be doing some of your own music as well as obviously singing some Rangers songs, or will it just be mainly Rangers?
I'll just, for this particular gig, because it's a fan zone stage, I'm just going to do 6 Rangers songs. The 5 that are on the EP, and then I'll do 1 more. I think if I'm doing another gig, I'll possibly going to put on a gig of my own stuff. Maybe I might go and speak to the Glad Cafe or something, which is a great venue in the south side, and do a night of my own music. But yeah, I've got to try and be careful now I've been invited to sing at loads of supporters clubs as well, which I've said yes to a couple, because I'm going to just bring along my own PA equipment, and as long as I know the sound's going to be okay and I know it's what I'm singing through is kind of manageable, then that's fine. But I don't like to turn up places that don't have the right equipment. It's not loud enough for people singing along, that kind of thing.
It takes you back to your days at 16.
Yeah, it gives me the fear massively.
Just finally, before we finish up, I should say, so out with the Ranger stuff, just your own personal music. You've done quite a few albums. How do people find your albums? Is Spotify, YouTube, all that sort of stuff? Yeah,
anywhere really. However you listen to music, if it's Spotify, Apple Music, or SoundCloud, I put them all on there as well. YouTube. My name's the same for all the social media. It's Robyn Keen Music. That's TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. And then for the likes of Spotify and Apple, it's just Robyn Keen, so without the music at the end. So we have to find it wherever you listen to music will be there.
Well, all the links to all of Robyn's channels and stuff will be in the description of this video anyway, so you'll be able to click on them for that. Robyn, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for inviting me on. Thank you.
Not a problem. We'll need to get you on the show sometime just to talk football.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know enough about, like, I wouldn't. It's one of those things. I don't like commenting football because I don't play it, and I can comment on music and singers, but I don't like to say anything negative about football because, you know, I feel like I've got a bit of a cheat because I can't play it myself. But I can.
Well, right now, neither can this Rangers team, Robyn.
I know how I feel about it, and I just want the same as everyone else. I just want them to play well and get their flow back, and I'm sure it will come. Yeah, I'm excited for their future though, and same as any Rangers fan, we just want them to start playing well again.
Exactly, and no doubt we'll have you back on. Robyn Keen, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.